Welcome back, fellow veterans. Today, I have a special treat. We're going to be interviewing a soldier who I served with, and we're going to get his perspective from his time in the service. We're also going to be dropping nuggets to hopefully encourage you in your transition process and to see if anything we say can help you. A lot of times, even the scriptures say that in a multitude of counsel there is safety. So we try to provide counsel from different perspectives to help you in your process. So if you're someone who is transitioning, has transitioned, are thinking about transitioning, we ask that you partner with us, join with us, like, share, comment, and give us your take on this as we move forward. So today I'm going to introduce my guest, and I'm going to let him tell you a little about himself as we do an informal interview. So welcome, Mr. Ronnie Haynes. Tell us about who you are. First of all, before you joined the service, who were you and what, tell us about that.
All right. Well, first thing is, Clinton, I appreciate you affording me the opportunity to come on your platform and actually share my story. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
So as far as me, I grew up in a small country town, an old country boy, about 20 minutes below Augusta, Georgia, Waynesboro. And it's rural, and all the jobs down there really tie in with agriculture, farming. You know, if you're not doing that, then you got like little local stores and factories that you can work in. So I just needed something as I crept up on graduating from high school. I needed something that would allow me to just grow, because I watched so many family members work, and they never seemed to get themselves out the hole. So I needed something different. So what I noticed was there were people in our community who were in the military, and they had to fly cars, they had the clothes, all this good stuff. And I remember just talking to them when we were playing basketball. I'm like, yo, man, how's the military, or what have you, and just got that perspective from those cats back then. And what they told me, and then just how they were moving, I was just impressed with that. So seeing individuals who were serving and their lifestyle is what drove me to go ahead and enlist into the military back in 1990.
Understood. That's amazing. Coming, like you said, come from a small town there in Georgia, Waynesboro. I was stationed at Augusta as an instructor there, and so I know exactly where you're at. So that's an amazing story. You're right. Looking around and seeing your community and ways that you could improve yourself drove you to find an avenue with the United States military. And you chose the best one. You chose the best one. If you're in the comment section feel different, let us know. But I see Army the best one. I tell people the Constitution lists two services: the Army and the Navy. Everybody else is a subsidiary. Saying the Air Force is our children. Now we got grandchildren, the Space Force. But moving on. Okay. All right. So you joined the service, you said, because you sought a better life for yourself, a way of improving yourself, and you thought the military would afford you that. So when you joined the military, what was your job? What was the first MOS you held as a United States Army soldier?
Well, one thing I wanted to say before I hit that mark is the individuals that were already serving, that were in the community, there were a couple of nuggets they gave me to prepare me for going to speak with the recruiter. And one thing that always stuck with me that they said is, hey, pick a field that if you decide you no longer want to serve and decide to transition out of the military, you can utilize it in the civilian sector. And that stuck with me when I was trying to make my decision as to what field to choose. So when I went up to the MEP station and they gave me this big book and had me going through to make a decision, I chose 71 Lincoln, jack all trade,
yes, sir,
administrative specialist.
God, that's true. Hey, that's when I mentioned that's what you were. You're right. And that's the one thing I was impressed about you when I met you was that field used to be a very difficult field to get promoted in, but you were one that put your nose to the grind to move forward. So that was impressive there. So tell me about the different assignments you had once you joined, and what was your favorite assignment as you moved as you progressed through the ranks? You know what I'm saying? What was your favorite? What was your I guess your first assignment and your favorite assignment? As you can you speak to that?
And favorite, wow, now the favorite gonna be a rough one because I've been so blessed. My first assignment was Korea.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, down south,
UID. Oh, you
way
down south?
down south, way gone.
Well, you go, okay, okay.
In 6 Med Zone. It was a medical battalion that I was in, and it was an awesome experience. Awesome experience, great leadership. I was afforded an opportunity to grow. Of course, I was in the pack, basically the personnel office where all the HR actions came through, doing my job in there. But I also ran the mailroom. And here's a key thing I want to point out is the mailroom was failing at
Mm,
that point in time. I was a private and they had a specialist in there and the individual wasn't performing at the level that the commander wanted. And I wanted to make specialists before I left Korea. And I remember all of these other PFCs and stuff telling me, hey man, you're not gonna be able to do that. I've been here a year. I got caught by stop loss, all this other good stuff, and I still haven't made special. The commander told me, hey, if you go in here, you work hard and you turn this mailroom around so we pass these inspections,
mm-hmm.
I'll make sure you get promoted. And I did. I worked on the weekends, I worked late evenings, and I turned it around and we were passing inspections and that was something off of his list because at the end of the day, the mailroom and the administrative office wasn't a part of the unit medal.
Yes,
You see
sir.
where I'm going with it? It wasn't
Yes,
part of the unit medal. Their focus was on medical supply and getting these supplies out to the organization. So he didn't want to focus on something that took him away from his primary mission. So that
right.
there is what my angle was, doing the best job I can to take that off of his plate. And I absolutely ended up getting promoted to specialist before I left Korea.
Yeah. You know what? I had this conversation with my son last night. I mean, so this ties in what you just said. The conversation I had with him was when you go to work for somebody in the civilian sector, not just you know, in the civilian sector, work for FedEx. I said, son, you got to make yourself indispensable to the organization.
Say
Meaning
that again.
you got to make yourself indispensable to the organization. I said, because if you become indispensable, your manager's going to see it, your supervisor's going to look at it, and they'll promote you, they'll give you raises. I said, but if you're just an average worker, I mean, if you just go in there, you just do the bare minimum, there's 10 other people want your job. And if you go in there, be like, well, I want a raise, they'd be like, well, you're not doing what you need to do to get that raise. And what you're saying is
Absolutely.
that what you came in, you saw what the commander's priority was, but you saw where things were slipping. And you say, you know what? In this area where things are not up to standard and up to par, I'm going to put my nose to the ground. I'm going to make it work. Even if you work, like you say, you work nights and weekends to get it up to the standard to pass inspection. That's something that transitions from military into civilian life. You don't have to be a military personnel to have that ethic, that work ethic.
Yeah.
And so I like that. Yeah. And I know what you're doing now. I hope that you're sharing that with your young folk there, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. You hit on the key word, and that's making yourself indispensable to the organization that you're part of. And it doesn't matter whether it's civilian or military, just come in there and be an asset to the organization.
Yeah.
And that has been my standard and goal in every single unit that I was a part of for my 30 plus years that I served
It's
in the military.
amazing. Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah. So would you say that was your favorite assignment or just your first assignment? So the second part was what's your favorite
it,
assignment?
it was it was my first assignment
Mm-hmm.
for sure,
Yes,
and
sir.
I won't say it was my favorite, but it was a very very good experience for me, and it helped shape me into the individual I am today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So do you have a favorite assignment or favorite location outside of because I love Korea too because I did a lot of shopping there.
Yeah, believe it or not, I think my favorite assignment was the Netherlands. Yeah,
Oh, I
where
play
you
that.
and I served together. It
Yes,
was
sir.
a beautiful country. I love being a part of NATO. I really enjoyed the job over there. I got exposed to so much, all branches of service, all these other international militaries that we got exposed to. And I think at that time it was about 17
Yeah, it was.
countries at that time when you and I were over there.
Yes,
That
sir.
right there was my favorite.
No, I like that. You're right, cause that gave you a different perspective on how the world works. A lot of times, most individuals who grew up in a community, whatever community that is, whether it's America, most for Americans, we usually understand only our community. Working in NATO, and I was fortunate to come from Turkey, which was NATO, to the Netherlands, to another NATO assignment. Working with different branches, you get to see a different style and how the world works. And so that you're right, I agree with you. That was a great assignment.
Yeah, it was an awesome assignment. And of course, that was during my enlisted years. And once I transitioned over, uh, I would have to say that Fort Hood, 1st Cavalry Division,
Mm-hmm.
15 PSB, that was the marquee assignment for me because it gave me the foundation to
Mm-hmm.
grow as a professional and definitely as an officer. And it put me at the heights that I arrived
Yes,
as a
sir.
Warrant Officer 5. Without that assignment, I don't think I would have been competitive for 5.
Understood. So let me ask you a question. When you transition, because actually, like I said, and I mentioned you were hard charging and enlisted, you were moving through the ranks. When you transitioned over to the warrant officer, because I see you retired at the highest rank as a warrant officer, did you have great mentorship?
I did. And I believe the key to mentorship is not just looking within your field. You have to have individuals that are outside of your field. So I had a lot of operators as mentors, whether it was infantry or what have you, who provided me insight on how I can be better. That's how I learned about focusing on the medal, meaning the mission of the organization, and not my job. I had to understand and realize that my job, even though it's important, it was not the mission of the organizations that I was in.
Yes,
It was
sir.
not the mission. There's only, out of all the assignments I had over 30 years, only one time was I a part of an organization where my skill set was part of the mission, and that was 15 PSB
Yes,
in
sir.
Hood. Other than that, I'm out here in jobs or in organizations, and I'm just one little piece of the pie that benefits the organization so that they can go out and do their mission successfully. And that's providing them the resources from a human resource perspective. That's it.
Yeah, I like that. I meet a lot of people, and especially some young folks, and a lot of times they'll tell me, I say, so what do you do? And they'll be like, well, and I say, ain't no such thing as just. I said, because one time I was fortunate to sit inside the Atlanta airport. I was sitting inside the Delta Lounge, and I was watching the planes, and I watched every individual from the fuelers, the baggage handlers, the people who loading the food, the flight attendant, everything that had to do for that plane to move. It had to operate. If one person would have dropped the ball, that throw the whole plane schedule off. And so when I tell people, when you're a part of an organization, whatever your job is, it is so critical and vital for the success of the organization. You may say, well, like when I worked at the HR in the hospital, and they say, well, all I do is environmental services. I said, without you, the hospital was shut down. I said, because you get staph infections, people are, be dying in surgery. I said, without you, the hospital was shut down. So when people see that perspective is my job, my role, help the organization. Even like you said, if it's not even a part of the metal, like say if you're a part of let's say armor. Armor, their job, like as a career counselor, I deployed with armor with tanks. Their job to go downfield and engage the enemy with their tanks, right? I wasn't a tanker, I was a career counselor. But my job still had to be done in order for them to continue to be successful in their mission. So you can't see it like, oh, I don't do nothing. I'm just over here shuffling papers. But if they don't get shuffled, somebody don't get paid. You know what I'm saying? Somebody don't get extended. So I like that perspective, you know what I'm saying? All right. So I'm gonna ask you okay, a couple more questions. Okay. You say you served 30 years, which that is awesome. You know, that's awesome. 30 years. That's a life.
I didn't plan it. It just worked out that way.
Yeah.
You know?
So when you started out, like you said, they were talking to you about getting a job that would transition well. So your goal was not to spend 30 years. Your goal was probably to spend what, 4 to 6 years, right?
Well, in my mind, I mean, coming from where I was coming from, I really wasn't used to leaving outside of that small town because we didn't have, you know, a whole bunch of resources, meaning money to travel. Right. So I only knew the environment I was in. So I wanted an opportunity that would take me to the next level. And the military did that for me. So once I got in and I got exposed to all of the benefits and the resources and opportunity that the military could provide, I mean, I was bought in.
Yes, sir.
You know, and one thing that always stuck in my head that my grandmother would tell me and my father was when you start something, make sure you finish it. If you're gonna do something, do it to the best of your ability, but don't do it at all.
Yeah, I like that.
I kept that with me everywhere I went and made sure that I put my best foot forward in every single organization, and I made sure I was a positive resource for every single organization I was a part of.
I can definitely attest to that. You know, yeah. That's the old. That reminds me of the old slogan. It said, "Be the job, big or small, do it well or not at all." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that was instilled in you from your grandmother and your father. That's an awesome testimony here to hear. Okay, so when you were transitioning out from the service after 30 years, I mean, you grew up in the service. I mean, you had all the jargon, you know, you had all the military speak. When you were transitioning out, how was that process for you from coming from 30 years of growing up, from advancing, from being in charge of so many personnel and running so many different organizations? How was it for you transitioning from that back into the civilian life?
Well, for me, it was easy, and I'm gonna explain exactly why it was. It's because I accepted that at some point, all good things come to an end. Right? A lot of us in the military, and I know you can understand that from seeing it firsthand yourself. You know, they think the day is never gonna come when you have to transition out. The key is you can prepare to leave out on your own accord, or you can be forced out, you know, and I never wanted that. So I prepared myself. I told you earlier, I never intended to do 30 years. My marker, once I transitioned over to be a warrant officer, was around the 22-year mark. Right. I met my service obligation, and then I would transition out and move on to do bigger and better things, you know. But as things happened and you go from being a single person out here to having a family and married, and then my wife, she transitioned over and she had a service obligation. So I was like, okay, well, I might as well just stay in, you know, that way I don't have to start all the way back over in the cycle, you know,
yes, sir.
Development, you know, with her. She basically ended up following me. So that is how I got to the 30-year mark. But we both knew the day would come to an end. And what I would tell individuals who are transitioning out, here's some key things you need to focus on. You need to look at where you want to reside. And if you got kids, you need to think about the schools. Your debt to income ratio matters. You're not gonna have that BAH and all that
Oh yeah.
stuff anymore, and your check is gonna be cut in half. You know, depending on how long you serve, but
Right.
just use half as a marker. No BAH, no separates, and half of your check. Here's what you have. Start living with that amount before you transition out of the military.
That's
Start
great
doing that
advice.
because that takes a lot of pressure off of you. I remember sitting in the Soldier for Life classes with a whole bunch of seniors, colonels, sergeant majors, and just looking around the room and just seeing how stressed everyone was. And we couldn't have been transitioning out at a worse time. It was in 2020, right
Mm.
there in the heat of COVID, you know, where all kind of jobs were shut down. There weren't that many job opportunities, and I understand the pressures of life, and you have a family to provide for, and you can just see the stress on everyone's face. And I remember looking at my wife as we were sitting in there, and I'm like, man, let's recheck our plan. I want to make sure we're on point because this seems so easy for us, but everyone else is looking stressed.
Mm.
It was the planning. We had no problem. We had no intentions of going out and getting any type of job or anything because we prepared ourselves 3 to 5 years before we transitioned out so that we could have a joyful transition and take the pressures of life off of ourselves, you know.
No,
So
I like that.
that right there is key. That debt to income ratio
Mm.
matters. Where you want to reside at matters. And I'll tell people, please think about the VA and civilian hospitals around you as well, because I have a lot of friends now who have to drive 2 hours away just to be seen, or 3 hours, or come over from I'm in Georgia, they're coming over from Alabama
Mm-hmm.
to be seen by doctors. So location matters. Debt to income ratio.
I like that. Yeah. I like the fact that first of all you talked about preparation, you know what I'm saying, preparing for the transition. Because it's like you said, it's gonna happen to all of us. And the statement we used to use in the military was, what are you gonna do when you have to grow up? You know, I know that might sound crazy to civilians, but that was our statement. What are you gonna do when you have to grow up? And that's true. It's gonna happen to everybody. And I've seen that process because I was a part of that process. And what I believe a lot of people don't understand in some aspect, even like yourself, 30 years, who transition well, it is almost like a death because you were a military member for 30 years for you, for me 21. You were a military member, grew up in that, I went in at 17. It's all I knew. So I had to, matter of fact, even my name Clinton had to readjust to that. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody called you Clinton, but everybody knew me as Lee. You know, because Lee
Yeah,
could be a first.
absolutely.
Nobody called me Clinton, so I had to. So people don't tell you about that process that you have to, that you basically are dying to who you used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're dying to, you know, in fact, for you, everywhere you went, somebody had to come in, you know, salute you. You know what I'm saying? As you walked in. Now you walk around, nobody looking at you like, who are you? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You know, I tell people when you leave the service, when you retire, I had a retirement ceremony, they gave me a sword and everything, all that good stuff. But when I left, I couldn't go back to the office. They probably changed the code. My badge would work no more. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to realize that you're preparing not just financially, but you better prepare emotionally for the fact that you are no longer who you used to be. You know, say you're no longer that. You know, like today, like if I go and I rarely do, I'm be honest with you, but if I were to go jogging, or if I go on the treadmill and jog a little bit, you know, in my head I still call cadence. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's severe like that. Don't mean nothing. You can't go out there. I remember
Right.
marching Fort Hood. We run 6 miles. I remember, you know, calling kids march information. Oh, word! That don't mean nothing.
No, that's
So you have to. So that transition preparation financially and psychologically has to take place with every individual. So did you have to go through the VA process for a rating for the 30 years of rent on payment and all the mission you had to do? How was that process for you?
Absolutely. And I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time. Um, I retired out from the Pentagon, and I was managing the active warrant officer population and the promotion boards. So for me sitting in that seat and being inside of the Pentagon and watching how the Sergeant Major Army transition out, our 3 and 4 star generals transition out, I was given information that you would think every soldier would know, but they didn't know, on how to prepare for transitioning out. And that is making sure your medical records are documented from head to toe. That was one of the key things that I was told. And you cannot wait till the last minute to do it. You have to do these things as you go through your career and you unfortunately experience injury, illness, or what have you. Make sure that you go get it documented and get it in your records. If your records are properly documented, then the VA process will go very nice and smooth. I started mine at that 180-day mark before your effective retirement date. On the day I retired, all of my VA benefits kicked in.
Got it. I like that. I
Yes,
like that.
but
Yeah,
again,
mhm.
we're talking preparation.
Preparation.
You
Yeah.
gotta prepare so that you're not fighting an uphill battle with trying to get something that you're entitled to and absolutely every veteran deserves.
You know what? The one thing I usually ask is, and you probably answer it for yourself, but a lot of times in the enlisted side of the house, even all the way up through, I won't say sergeant major because they have a different access, like you know, but they when you go through, you said soldier for life. It used to be TAPS back in the day. I retired way before you 07, and so they don't really prepare you, I believe, for the transition. What it sounds like to me is because of where you were at, you had a different level of preparation as you transition. Whereas a lot of soldiers that go through the process, because as a soldier, when we ran a PT day to say we used to have a cadence called sick wall, sick call, AWOL, can't run, can't fight, can't be like me, right? So they frowned upon you going to sick call, even if you were hurt. And so a lot of enlisted soldiers, they didn't go to sick call to get a lot of things documented as they should have. And so a lot of them are fighting that battle on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Because think about this. You spend 20 plus years in the service and you got a problem with your ankles and knees. Where do you think that come from? You think it came because you got out there working at Winn-Dixie? No, that happened. And so I'm just saying, but I like the fact that you had mentors and a position that allowed you to see and how to prepare to exit correctly. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that. That's a good thing. So,
Absolutely. And
so that's
Clint, can I add something to that?
Please.
Very important. So with the medical records, you just hit on something and you're spot on. Going to sick call with us, I'm gonna call me and you old school.
Yes, sir.
And going into sick call was a no-no and it was frowned upon. And that hurt us going forward when we're trying to get our benefits. And what made me start getting my records documented, it wasn't me being in the Pentagon. It was years back, almost a decade back, when I was at Fort Jackson as an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he was God sent. This retired sergeant major stopped me coming out to PX and said, "Hey, come in, Chief. Have you been documenting your records? Have you been going getting seen for any type of injury?"
Right.
I don't even ask you how long you've been in, but you're warrant officer. You've been in for a while. And I was like, no. It was like, you better start doing it, or you will not be able to get the benefits that you want when it's time for you to retire. It's like, go get your records documented. And it was something about that 20-minute conversation. I made a phone call that day, and I called from 2012 all the way out until I retired in 2020, making sure that I was documented from head to toe in my records. That's what set me up for success. With the Pentagon, it was, how you approach applying for the benefits. The Pentagon put me in touch with how all the senior leaders approach it, and that is using the VFW,
Got it.
Veterans of Foreign Wars. And I want to say this because a lot of soldiers, when they transition out, they go and they pay the civilian organizations thousands of dollars to
Mm,
try to get their benefits. And there's organizations out here that will do it for you for free.
I
For
like
free.
that.
Veterans of
VFW. Yeah.
Please take advantage of that. Anyone that's listening to this, take advantage of it. It's free. Their service is free, and it works. My wife utilized them. I utilized them, and about 10, 15 of our friends utilize it. It costs you nothing.
Yeah. So for those who are gonna watch this video in the future as it's uploaded, give us your comments on what worked for you and what process you're in right now in that process of getting your VA benefits calculated based off of the service connected injuries, and how that process is going for you. I'd love to hear your stories, and I'll look in the comment and talk to you in the comment sections. Okay, so at the end of your career, you transition out correctly because you were prepared. You went through the VA process. You had wisdom people gave you from the Sergeant Major at Fort Jackson all the way through seeing how things work in the Pentagon. Once you left the service, what did you start doing? I see a sign behind you, but what brought you into that field? Talk to me about that.
Okay, so this banner behind me represents our nonprofit organization, Team Haynes Foundation. And my wife and I, we launched it in 2020 because we wanted to pay forward our knowledge and understanding and resources to the communities that groomed us. So once we moved back home, some of the key things that we lacked when we first stepped out after graduating high school was an understanding of education options, meaning, do I go to college? Do I go to trade school? What is the best career to choose so that I can make the money that I want and go out here and achieve my goals in life? Credit and investing. So those three things: education options, credit, and investing for the future. That's what we focus on. So we go around to the high schools and we speak to the youth about these three things and provide them some nuggets that I wish I had when I first stepped out as a young adult in the civilian world, trying to navigate it and be the best person I can be. And we enjoy it. And it's very, very beneficial to the communities that we're in. So we're giving them knowledge that they can use, and we also provide grants and scholarships annually as well. And for more information about us, you can check us out on our social media platforms, Team Haynes Foundation, or you can go to teamhaynesfoundation.org.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure I get that information from you. So when I put in the description, that anybody who wants to partner with what you're doing, because you said nonprofit, so nonprofit means that you need funding, and so there's a lot of people out in your community, a lot of military members, and a lot of civilians who are going to see what you're doing, how you're getting back to the community. That's going to partner with you. So I want to make sure I get your information that you just spoke about, the Haynes Foundation.org. I'm going to put it in the description. So anybody that wants to partner with Mr. Ronnie Haynes can do so. And also, I'm going to, if you want, you can give me an email address later on for how they can contact you through the Haynes Foundation, where it is, so that we can have that. Somebody want to contact you, partner with you, the link that they can, send funds, because funds is the biggest thing when you're dealing with a nonprofit, especially when you're giving back to the community. Nobody's paying you for that, so somebody has to come alongside you, to partner with you, to help you in that endeavor. So I look forward to doing that. Okay, so Mr. Haynes, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, especially time away from your family, which I know is truly important to you. And so it's been a benefit to have you here on this platform, the Veteran Focus on Veteran Transition, because we want to give other veterans insight into what has taken place, who they are, and what's going to happen to them as they transition. You give a lot of wealth of knowledge, and so I want to thank you for that, sir.
Absolutely. And thank you, Clinton, for allowing me to come on your platform and share my experience. And I wish you the best going forward. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Sal. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video portion of this. And so, as we end the video portion, we're going to just say we appreciate everyone who has joined in with us and and listen to this. Like I said, please like, share, comment, because we grow this platform. We want to be a resource for veterans around the globe, those who are in the transition process, those who are thinking about transition, and those who already have, who are struggling with certain things. We want to make sure that this content gets to them and that they can, partner with us. Because it costs you nothing to partner with us. When I say this is free, meaning just to like, comment, subscribe is a free endeavor. But I want you to, but what's not free, like I said, we'll put in the description, is the nonprofit Ronnie Haynes Foundation. That's not free. So we want you to partner with them, with your resources as they move forward. So thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Before I go, any last words you want to give to any veterans that before I start the recording?
Absolutely. Make sure you prepare yourself. Even if you've transitioned out and you're still trying to get benefits, take advantage of the resource that I mentioned, the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars. It doesn't matter that you don't have information documented in your medical records. They can still help you get what you need and what you deserve to take care of you and yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haynes. Appreciate you, and I'm going to start the recording.